She faked her death. She framed me. She made the world believe I was a monster who killed his own wife. 1 year in prison. 1 year without answers. 1 year without my son. And then I saw her, alive, holding the hand of the boy she swore was mine. That's when I knew I've been living someone else's lie. To all my amazing subscribers, thank you for your constant support. Make sure you turn on notifications so you never miss these dramatic and powerful real-life stories. And if you're new here, subscribe now to help bring more true, emotional tales to light. Now let's begin. My name is Eli Walker, born and raised in Ohio. And for a while, I thought I had it all. A steady job, a decent house, and a wife I adored. Her name was Renee. She had this way of making you feel like the center of her universe. A soft smile, eyes full of charm, and a voice that always knew just what to say. We met at a bookstore of all places. I bought her a coffee the same day. 6 months later, we were married. I thought I was the luckiest man alive. We had our son, Caleb, a year into the marriage. Life got busier, tighter, but we made it work. Or so I believed. But one Friday night, everything changed. I came home from work to find the front door wide open. The living room was a mess. Cushions on the floor, Caleb's toys scattered like a storm had hit. Panic shot through me. I shouted her name. No answer. Then I saw it. A bloody kitchen knife on the counter. A note taped to the fridge. You did this. I hope they find your soul in hell. Her handwriting. That was the last moment I had as a free man. The cops showed up fast. Too fast. It felt rehearsed. Neighbors said they heard fighting. So they saw me angry the day before. They found evidence, emails, photos, planted texts. My world crumbled in under 48 hours. They never found her body, but they had enough to charge me with manslaughter and tampering with evidence. I didn't even get to hold Caleb. My own parents looked at me like I was guilty. Renee vanished without a trace. The trial was fast, media was loud, and my name was dragged through the mud. I was sentenced to 10 years. I still remember the sound of the gavel, like thunder on a clear day. And I still remember her mother's face, Deborah, my mother-in-law. Stone cold. Not one tear. May God never let you see the sun again, she said in court. No one believed me. Not even my own family. Not my friends. They thought I'd snapped. But the truth? I never even raised my voice to Renee, let alone a hand. Still, the bar slammed shut behind me, and, just like that, I was Eli Walker, convicted wife killer. Prison is its own kind of hell. People think the worst part is the violence. It's not. It's the silence. The way people look at you. Like you're filth. Like you deserve to be forgotten. I try to write to my son. Every month. I never got a single letter back. I held on to one thing, the truth. I didn't do it. I didn't kill her. Somewhere deep down, I believed she was alive. But believing it didn't make the bars go away. The months crawled, until a lawyer named Rachel Myers found me. She was new, sharp, and curious about wrongful convictions. She asked questions no one else did. Looked at files everyone ignored. She found something, an error in the police report, a signature that didn't match, a missing timestamp on the neighbor's footage, little cracks and a big lie. After 11 months and 3 weeks, I was released. Not exonerated, not cleared, just released. Because the system had messed up. I walked out into a world that thought I was a murderer. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. Because 2 weeks later, standing in line for coffee, I saw her. Renee, alive, holding the hand of child. My son. You think that walking out of prison would feel like freedom? It didn't. It felt like stepping out a nightmare and waking up into another. I wasn't proven innocent. I was just let go. There was no apology, no our bad. No one waiting outside with open arms. Just a cracked sidewalk, a bus ticket, and a garbage bag with my few belongings. The world had moved on without me. I had no job, no home, no son, and no name that meant anything but murderer. Those 11 months in prison still live in my bones. People ask me how I made it through. The truth? I almost didn't. At first, I spent every night staring at the ceiling, listening to screams echo from other cells. You learn to sleep with one eye open. You learn how to talk too much. But most of all, you learn how it feels to be invisible. Nobody visits the man who killed his wife. Except Rachel. She wasn't just my lawyer. She was my only lifeline. I don't know what made her take my case, but she said something that stuck with me. Eli, the truth has a way of clawing its way out. Even if it takes time, I clung to that. Every time I got punched in the yard. Every time someone whispered, "Wife killer," as I passed. Every time I saw my son's name on an unopened letter, knowing he'd never read it. Back in the real world, I tried to blend in. I moved 2 towns over, rented a dingy apartment under a fake last name, and got a job changing tires. No questions asked. For weeks, I kept my head down. Until that morning. I was standing in line at a small cafe just off Main. My coffee addiction was the only luxury I allowed myself. I looked up and saw her. Renee. Same honey blonde hair. Same walk. Holding little boy's hand. He looked like me. I froze. My heart started pounding so loud I thought people would hear it. She was laughing. Alive. Not a trace of guilt on her face. I blinked, stepped back, and let them pass. They didn't notice me. I followed them, carefully, heart thudding with every step. They turned down a side street and walked into a tan townhouse with blue shutters. A for sale sign lay broken in the grass. No signs of caution, no fear, just her, living. I went back to my apartment, pulled out every document I had, and sat in the dark for hours. 100 questions ran through my mind. Who helped her? How did she fake her death? Why frame me? But one thing I knew, I needed proof. This wasn't over. The next day, I called Rachel. You said the truth has claws? I said, well, I just saw it. She didn't believe me at first, but I gave her the address. She drove by, called me 30 minutes later. I'll never forget her voice. Eli, it's her. My God, you were telling the truth. Things moved fast after that. Rachel called in a contact from the state investigator's office, someone who owed her a favor. Surveillance began. Photos, video, receipts. The woman who died was alive, had a new name, and had been cashing checks from a life insurance policy filed 1 week before her disappearance. Fraud, perjury, kidnapping, framing. It was all coming together. But what hit me the hardest? The boy was mine. They ran a quiet paternity test through a discarded soda Caleb had thrown in the trash. The match was undeniable. He was 6 now. He didn't know my name. Didn't know I existed. That broke me more than prison ever could. 2 weeks later, Renee was arrested in the middle of a grocery store. She screamed, cried, begged, but it was all recorded. Her lies were laid out like laundry in a courtroom. Emails she sent to a fake account to frame me. The friend who helped her disappear. The blood on the knife wasn't even human. It was pig's blood. I sat in that courtroom, hands folded, eyes fixed on the woman who tried to erase me. I watched the jury gasp, the judge scowl, and the press eat it up. She wouldn't look at me. Not once. Her sentence? 12 years without parole. But nothing felt like justice. Because no sentence could give me back the life I lost. No time could return those moments with my son. After the trial, they asked if I wanted to make a statement. I stood up, looked at the crowd, and said, "You all believed I was a monster. You all turned away. But the truth never dies. It waits. And sometimes, it wears your ex-wife's perfume." That night, I stood outside my son's new school. He ran past me, laughing. He didn't know who I was. But I whispered to myself, I'll earn my place, one day at a time. It's strange, the first time you see your child again after years apart, when they don't even know who you are. There he was, my son, backpack too big for his little shoulders, running out of the school gates with a group of friends, laughing like the world hadn't been ripped apart and stitched back together in lies. I stood across the street, hands shaking in my pockets, heart thudding against my ribs. He looked just like I did when I was his age. Same ears, same uneven grin. 6 years old. I missed all of it. His first steps, first words, first day of school. I wasn't even there the first time he scraped his knee. And the worst part? He didn't miss me, because he never knew me. I'd been erased. I couldn't just walk up to him. The court ruled that I had to take it slow, supervised visits only after mandatory therapy sessions. Caleb needed to be prepared. I wasn't allowed near him unless approved by the system. But watching from a distance, that wasn't illegal. So I did. Every day for 2 weeks. I watched him grow into my shadow without ever knowing it. I learned his favorite color was orange, that he liked peanut butter but hated jelly, and that he always kicked his left shoe off first when he got home. His foster parents seemed kind. An older couple, retired school teachers. They held his hand, laughed at his jokes, kissed his forehead when he got cranky. I was grateful and broken, because I should have been the one doing all that. Then one day, he tripped on the sidewalk right outside the gate. Scraped his knee. Hard. He cried out, sitting on the ground, trying to act tough. The teachers were swamped, distracted. Kids kept running past, and I couldn't take it anymore. I crossed the street, knelt down, and pulled a clean tissue from my jacket. My voice cracked, soft but sure. "Hey, buddy, you're all right. Let me help." He looked up at me, curious, not scared. I dabbed the blood gently and gave him a little nod. "It's gonna sting for a second. But you're tougher than this, huh?" He sniffled and nodded. "Yeah, I'm tough. I can tell." I smiled, and for a few seconds, he smiled back, before the teacher noticed and hurried over. "Sir, excuse me, you can't." I stood, backed away, hands up, just helping. She didn't recognize me. She didn't know I was his father. Nobody did. I walked away before it turned into a scene. But that moment, those few seconds of connection, I'll carry them for the rest of my life. Later that night, I told Rachel. "Maybe he's not ready," I said. "But I am." She agreed. It was time to file for visitation, legally. But first, I had to do something harder. I had to face my own mother. She lived in a modest house in the suburbs, same place I grew up. Garden still trimmed, wind chimes still dancing in a breeze. For years, she believed I was a murderer, and when I walked up her steps, I didn't know if she'd slam the door or collapse into my arms. I knocked. Nothing. Then the door creaked open, and there she was, hair grayer, eyes tired, but still Mom. She stared at me like I was a ghost. "Ellie." I couldn't speak. My throat burned. You're home." Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't move. Just stared. I took a deep breath. "They lie, Mom." She lied. I didn't do it. Her lip quivered. "I know. You know." She stepped out, reached up, and touched my cheek like I was 5 again. "I never stopped praying. But when they arrested you, I couldn't look. I was ashamed, scared, but I never stopped loving you." I broke. Right there on her porch, I collapsed into her arms and sobbed. She held me like she did when I scraped my knees as a kid, like nothing had changed, like I was still her son. And in that moment, for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. She made tea. We sat at the old kitchen table, the same one where I did homework, the same one where I'd begged Renee not to leave for her business trip that day. I told her everything. She listened, quiet still, rage flashing in her eyes, heartbreak in her silence. "She took everything from you. From us," she whispered. "But she doesn't get to take what's left." That night, I slept in my childhood bed, and I dreamed of Caleb calling me Dad. It's strange how silence can be the loudest thing in the room. That waiting area inside the Family Services Center, it had the kind of silence that pressed against your ears. Cheap chairs, flickering fluorescent lights, and a worn poster on the wall that read, "Every child deserves a voice." That day, I was the one trying to find mine. I sat there, palms sweaty, heart pounding. Every tick of the clock felt like thunder. The caseworker, Ms. Dorsey, sat across from me with a clipboard and kind eyes. She'd interviewed me 3 times already. She knew my whole story. "Are you sure you're ready for this, Mr. Walker?" "I've waited 6 years. I can't wait anymore." She gave a small nod and stood. "He's already in the room." Those words punched me in the chest. My knees went weak when I stood, like my body wasn't sure it could carry the weight of this moment. The walk down the hallway was slow, almost cruel, every step echoing like a countdown. And then, the door opened. He was sitting at a round table, swinging his legs, a tiny plastic bottle of apple juice in front of him. There was a social worker nearby, and 2 cameras on opposite corners of the room. But all I saw was him, my boy. He looked up, confused for a second, then said hi. I couldn't breathe. "Hey, Caleb," I said softly. I'm Meili." He tilted his head. "Are you my new teacher?" I smiled, heart cracking. "No, not a teacher." He stared a little longer. "Do you know my mom?" "Yeah," I said, my voice catching. "I used to." He nodded like that made sense, then looked down at his juice and said, "I like orange better." "Orange is the best," I replied. "I like orange too." It was awkward, gentle, fragile. But something shifted. He leaned forward. You have a funny voice. I've been quiet for a long time. Why? I hesitated. Because I lost something important. But I think I just found it again. The rest of the session was like walking on glass barefoot. We talked about cartoons, school, dinosaurs. I didn't push. I didn't tell him the truth yet. I wasn't allowed to. But I looked at him the way only a father could. He smiled more as the minutes passed. He even laughed at one of my bad jokes. At one point, he asked if I wanted to draw with him. We sat side by side and scribbled with crayons. He drew a volcano. I drew a house with two stick figures holding hands. He looked over at my drawing. Who's that? That's me, and someone I really, really love. He smiled. Looks like you. And in that moment, I felt something warm flicker in my chest, like a broken circuit finally sparking back to life. When the hour ended, Ms. Dorsey gave me the signal. Caleb looked sad when he realized it was time to go. Will you come back? He asked. I knelt down, looked him in the eye. Every time they let me. He nodded. Okay, next time, I'll bring orange juice. I almost cried right there. I left the room shaking. Ms. Dorsey followed behind. You did well, she said. He was comfortable. That's rare. I don't want to be a stranger to him, I whispered. You're not, she replied. Not anymore. That night, I called my mom. She cried when I told her how it went. Then I sat on the porch with Rachel and stared out at the stars. It felt like home, I told her. You're building something new, Eli. Piece by piece. But I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Because in 2 weeks, I was scheduled to speak at Renee's sentencing hearing. And I was going to look the woman who destroyed me in the eye. The woman who stole my life. And let her know I was taking it back. The courtroom smelled like dust and old wood. That faint scent of polish and paper that somehow makes time feel slower. I'd been in this room before, years ago, when they wrongfully chained my future to a lie. But this time, I wasn't the one on trial. This time she was. Renee sat across the room in an orange jumpsuit, wrists cuffed, hair tied back in a bun that couldn't hide the sharp lines of her guilt. She looked thinner, older, but her eyes, those calculating eyes, still burned the same. She didn't flinch when I entered, didn't even blink, but I saw her fingers tremble. I took my seat in the front row beside Rachel and my mom. My lawyer, Mr. Harlan, gave me a reassuring nod. They'll allow your statement once the judge finishes review, he whispered. I nodded. I had prepared for this moment, not just on paper, but in soul, because this was the final chapter, the one where I take back everything she tried to erase. The judge called order and began reading the charges. Fraud, falsifying evidence, child endangerment, identity tampering, filing a false death certificate, each word stacked on top of the last like bricks in a tomb. Renee didn't argue. Her attorney didn't object. It was all on record. Her lies, her scheme, her betrayal. And now came the time for me to speak. The judge gestured toward the podium. Mr. Walker, the court will now hear your victim impact statement. I stood. My heart wasn't racing, it was roaring, but I kept my voice steady. Your Honor, thank you. I stand here today not just as a victim of Renee's lies, but as a survivor of them. I was imprisoned for a crime I never committed. I lost my freedom, my career, my reputation. But more than anything, I lost time with my son. 6 years of silence. 6 birthdays. 6 Christmas mornings. I watched the world move on without me, while Renee lived in mine. She told the world I was dead, that I was dangerous, that I didn't deserve to exist. And all along, I trusted her with everything. I looked at her. You had my love, my future, my child, and you threw it in the fire to chase whatever twisted fantasy you thought you deserved. But here's the thing, Renee. I'm still standing. You buried me, but I clawed my way back. I reclaimed my name, my life, and soon I'll have my son. You took everything, and now you have nothing. I paused, voice low. I don't hate you. I pity you, because you'll spend the rest of your life behind bars with no one left to lie to but yourself. I stepped back. The courtroom was silent. Even the judge seemed shaken. He cleared his throat and began to deliver sentencing. Given the gravity of the offenses and the profound impact on Mr. Walker and his son, The court sentences Renee Porter to 30 years in federal prison, with eligibility for parole after 25. The gavel struck. Just like that, it was over. Outside the courthouse, the sun was bright, warm. For the first time in years, it didn't feel like it was mocking me. Reporters tried to rush in, asking questions. But I didn't stop. I held Rachel's hand and walked to the car. As we drove away, I watched the city blur by. "What now?" she asked gently. I looked out the window, my voice soft. "Now, I learned how to be a dad again. A few months." Later, custody of Caleb was granted to me. It wasn't easy. There were therapists, counselors, slow introductions, but every step felt like stitching my soul back together. The first night he stayed with me, I tucked him into bed. He looked up at me with tired eyes. "Are you really staying?" I kissed his forehead. "Forever." He smiled. And that night, I watched my son sleep in the room he was always meant to be in. I'm telling this story for anyone who's ever been lied to. For anyone who's ever lost something they thought they'd never get back. Sometimes, the truth is buried deep beneath betrayal and pain. But when you dig long enough, fight hard enough, the truth will always find its way home. Just like I did. That's the end.